everybody, this is Jim and Paul with your weekly lineup. Starting on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern, we have the Twisted Southern Horror Queen with Arthur Lynn Gibson. And at 9 o'clock, we have Chit Chat with Kathy and Jean. At 10 o'clock, we have Straight Talk with Matt Hazley.
And on Tuesdays at 8 p.m., we have Cosmopolitans with Lauren. At 9 p.m., we have Talk Time with Val. And at 10 p.m., we have Rock Talk with Amy Shafalo.
On Wednesdays at 8 p.m., we got Whiskey, Cars, and Cigars with your host, Johnny Blender. At 9 o'clock, we got Sports Insider with Glenn Spillman. At 10 o'clock, we got Get Your Swole On with Randy and Mike. And at 11 o'clock, we got Straight Talk with Matt Hazley.
And on Thursday nights at 8 p.m., we have Pod Talk with Jim and Paul. At 9 p.m., we have Podcast University with Harrison and Ben. And at 10 p.m., we have Night Talk with Joe Rocks. And at 11 p.m., we have Just a Thought with Hans and Victor. And at midnight, it's Trudy Light.
And on Fridays at 8 p.m., we have Summer 13 Films with Glenn and Sean. At 9 o'clock, we have Sports Insider with Glenn Spillman. And at 10 o'clock, we have Straight Talk with Matt Hazley. That's your weekly lineup. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.
The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Talk Time with Val. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Valenistama, and today I have I would say it's a special lineup, but it isn't. We're going to recap some news items that I found very interesting. To me it's special. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of who Warren Sapp is. Jimmy, do you know who Warren Sapp is?
Isn't he a football player?
Yeah, Hall of Fame defensive lineman, Warren Sapp.
Yeah, he sounds familiar.
Well, this dude is like, oh my god. Like, well, he's a Hall of Famer, right? But he's like, oh my god, huge. Here's the thing. On Tuesday, he came out and wrote on the Players Tribune that he plans to donate his brain to science in order to aid research into chronic traumatic encephalopathy. So hard to say that word. Anyway, Sapp, who played 13 years in the NFL, said the fact that he's beginning to suffer from cognitive issues helped him to make that decision. He stated, and this is a direct quote, "I've also started to feel the effects of the hits that I took in my career. My memory isn't what it used to be, and yeah, it's scary to think that my brain could be deteriorating. And that maybe things like forgetting a grocery list or how to get to a friend's house I've been to 1,000 times are just the tip of the iceberg. So when it comes to concussions, CTE, and how we can make our game safer for future generations, I wanted to put my 2 cents in to help leave the game better off than it was when I started playing." Sapp also mentioned another Hall of Fame defender, former Miami Dolphins star Nick, now I don't even know how to say his name, I think it's Nick Buonaconti, who told Sports Illustrated's S.L. Price in May that he feels like a child as a result of his cognitive problems. Price wrote Buonaconti had PET scans done that were consistent with Parkinsonian syndrome and CTE. Doctors are only able to confirm a CTE diagnosis after examining a person's brain following his or her death, which is why former players such as Sapp have committed to donating their brains to CTE research. Now, Jimmy, you don't think that's cool?
Yeah, it sounds good.
This past April, ESPN.com's William Weinbaum and Steve Delshon wrote Dr. Anne McKee, a researcher in Boston University, had examined the brains of 48 former NFL players. 47 of the brains showed signs of CTE. In September 2015, researchers from the Department of Veterans Affairs and Boston University said that they had found CTE in 87 of the 91 brains they had studied belonging to former NFL players. So you got to think that these guys go through a ton of trauma. And chronic traumatic encephalopathy it's huge. It's a big deal. It's like, remember in his latter days, Mike Tyson, right? It's like, you wonder at the price that they pay for their 15 minutes of fame. In his case, 13 years of fame, you know? But, I mean, Mike Tyson, not Mike Tyson, why am I saying Mike Tyson? Muhammad Ali, damn it. Muhammad Ali will always be a legend, right? He will go down in the ages as being like just the most amazing person, boxer, etc., etc. But I don't know. There's something so sad about a sport that can completely damage you so badly, and the one thing that scares me, I guess, is taking away the brain. You know what I mean? The cognitive function. I have no problem I'll have a problem with it, but it would be easier for me to give up my ability to walk than my ability to think. Do you know what I'm saying, Jimmy?
Yep.
Well, do you agree with that?
Sure.
You're not interested? What's going on? You sound very whatever today. What's going on with you?
Whatever.
Really?
No.
What the hell, man? Okay, so you're good.
I'm good.
Okay. So, have you heard of the Tesla Model X?
Tesla what?
Tesla's Model X.
Oh, no. What's it, a battery or something?
No, it's actually, it's a vehicle. Okay? But here's the thing. It was supposed to be one of the safest vehicles you could get. It's supposed to be the safest SUV ever tested. Alright? And a National Transportation Safety Board report has come out on a deadly crash. And here's what happened here. Joshua Brown's Tesla, his vehicle, warned him 7 times to put his hands back on the wheel before he plowed into a truck. So the National Transportation Safety Board report on a deadly crash found that Brown had his hands on the wheel of the Tesla Model S for 25 seconds out of the 37 minutes that the car was on autopilot. The crash near Gainesville, Florida in May of 2016 drew attention because of the questions it raised about the safety of self-driving cars. An earlier investigation by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration found that the crash was not the result of any defect in Tesla's autopilot feature, which can keep a car in a lane and brake to avoid traffic and other obstacles. In this case, the car hit the trailer of a truck that pulled across its lanes of traffic at an intersection. The NTSB cautioned that its report was only fact-finding about the crash. The agency said it was not drawing conclusions about why the crash happened. And here's the thing. If you have a self-driving car, are you really going to have 25 seconds out of that 37 minutes with your hand on the wheel, Jimmy?
Right.
It's complete nonsense, right?
Well, these self-driving cars, don't they take care of the steering wheel when they drive? Or you're supposed to have, you're supposed to be driving it.
It's not a robot. What it's supposed to do is, like say you're a parent of a teenage driver and you want to make sure your kid is ultra safe. If it's like on autopilot, let's say you're on long highways, it will make sure you don't leave your lane, so it can slightly mildly adjust for that. It will brake the car in case you don't brake fast enough to avoid collisions or pedestrian hits or things like that, right? it will parallel park for you using sensors, etc. But if your vehicle tells you 7 times that your hands need to be on the wheel and you decide you're going to drive in traffic, it's not meant to drive in traffic as an autopilot. It's meant to drive like on open highway or something like that. You can use it on autopilot. It's like a better version of cruise control where you can actually lean back and relax. Your hands don't have to be guiding it because the car does itself. But if you're on a road, I mean, you know, these features, this machinery, these equipment, whatever, computers, they're fallible. Are you really going to put your life in the hands or mechanical hands of a car and say, screw it, I'm not going to pay attention? Like, these cars will help people, you know, in this case, a truck trailer pulled out in an intersection in front of him. If he had his hands on the wheel, he would have been able to adjust and do what he needed to do. But no, he's cruising around with his hands off the wheel. I'm sorry, but that's just complete dotishness. You gotta value your life, man. Now, there's a Ford advertisement that I love where it's a grandpa and a granddaughter in the car, and like magic, it parallel parks. Have you seen that advertisement?
No, I haven't.
Are you aware of these self-driving cars?
I've heard of them, yeah.
Alright.
I forgot who. Is it Google that's doing them?
No, well, Tesla, Ford, I mean, other like brands are doing it too.
Yeah, there's already some on the road. I think it was Google. And it got into
Ford
an
is
accident.
on the road.
What's that?
Ford is on the road. A year ago, Tesla, right, was...
Yeah, the Tesla one was like $100,000 or $200,000. I forget which.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if
Cheap,
you want to
they're
know...
small things.
Okay. I think it's a pretty awesome vehicle, but here's the thing. Let's look at 20 pros and cons associated with self-driving cars, okay? If there's one topic...
Well, it sounds like it's almost like using cruise control. You can only use cruise control when you're on the highway or a back road with less traffic.
Right.
Other than that, you can't use it in the city or stoplights, and it's just stupid.
But even in the city with stoplights, these cars will brake for you. Like, let's say a dog runs out in the road and stuff, right?
Right.
Or
that's a good feature.
Or a car brakes right in front of you, like a quick stop, your car will brake for you. It has a better reaction time than the human person. Because by the time you see it, their sensors have already, the cameras already spotted it, and they're already stopping by the time you're thinking of stopping. You know what I'm saying?
Right, it's like sonar. It's when it kicks in that the brakes hit.
Right, precisely. So, okay, if there's one topic, I think, that gets a lot of attention lately in the media in the last year, the public policy sphere and in the general health and wellness discussions, it's how to make the roadways safer, right? I mean, it always does. People, they say, don't text and drive, and they come out with cars that people can literally text and drive and sleep in. No, you can't sleep in these cars. But that's what people think a self-driving car is. Because you would think if they own one, they would know what it is. But here's the sad thing about people today, and I'm not just saying Americans. I'm saying people in general today. They think they take things at face value and they stop thinking about what their next move is. They stop doing research. They just, they're buying something to keep up with the Joneses and they don't really know how it works, right? You have a $2,000, iPad and a $1,000 phone, and what do you do? Do you text? Do you FaceTime? Do you email? Use it for work as a mini computer? No. Use it as a phone. You may text once in a while. You use it for GPS, pretty much. Why do you need a $1,000 phone for that when a $50 phone will do the exact same thing? Because you want a $1,000 phone. According to the Centers for Disease Control, fatalities from traffic incidents happen on an annual basis upwards of 33,000 people. Many of these accidents are preventable, and an alarming number of them are results of distracted driving. Let me just say something to you. You know, everybody's all drunk drivers, right? And I agree, you should not be driving when you're drunk. There's no time in your life you should be driving when you're drunk. But do you know that eating a sandwich in the car, there are studies that have shown, and there are courses that have shown, that eating a sandwich while you're driving is just as bad as being drunk while driving, or answering your phone, having a conversation, an extended period conversation with somebody who's not in the vehicle with you. Switching your radio stations. You know, how many accidents happen because people are switching their radio stations and they take their eyes off the road for a lengthy period of time. It's carelessness. Literally, you do not care about people on the road. You do not care about their lives because you think that you're indestructible. Well, you know what, sweetheart? You might be indestructible, but it's your stupid dumbass that's going to kill somebody else on the road. So stop doing it. If you're going to drive a vehicle, which is essentially a ton of steel and metal and glass, then be safe about it. I mean, you're the same dumbass who's going to be running around saying, don't run with scissors, or use a plastic cup, not a glass, in case you cut yourself. Seriously? I'm sorry, but that pisses me off. You people need to get a reality check. You're the same dumbass who's going to say, I've been driving for 35 years or 50 years and I know what I'm doing. You know what, lady? You don't know what you're doing. You need to get glasses and you need to get half a brain in your head to realize that just because you've been driving for so long doesn't mean that the roads haven't changed, the rules haven't changed, and the vehicles haven't changed. You do not, and especially since you're that old, you don't have the capability of reacting as quickly as you used to. Okay? So how about instead of being an idiot stating that you can do this because you've been doing it for so long, how about you grow the fleck up and realize that you are the reason people die on the road because of your stupidity and driving 40 miles an hour on the highway. Have you ever been behind one of those people, Jimmy?
Oh yeah, I'm usually one of them people.
40 miles an hour on the highway. They're not looking at the road. They're on their freaking phone and they're turned sideways in their car and looking behind to talk to somebody. Those people should immediately have their licenses revoked. Anyway, in the past few years, as a result of the number of traffic accidents plaguing the country and the devastating injuries and fatalities that result from them, a greater push has been made in the sphere of technology to make cars safer, drivers more aware, and accidents less likely. Alongside other technology that has emerged during this time is the idea of self-driving cars, an advancement that seems like it belongs in a futuristic movie. What do you think, Jimmy? Self-driving cars belong in a futuristic movie?
It's better than having idiots behind the wheel.
You know, I agree with you. I really do. Like, I don't know. Anyway. So, let's see. Where was I? Okay. So, the reality is that self-driving cars aren't that far off, actually. But the debate over whether they increase or decrease safety rages on. So drivers are at fault for most accidents. Do you believe that, Jimmy?
Yeah, it's usually operator error.
Thank you. I concur. While surely some faulty mechanics can be cited as the cause for certain accidents, more often than not, drivers themselves are the most dangerous things about hitting the open road. The reality is there are so many factors at play when a driver gets behind the wheel, and a safe road experience relies on a driver that is 100% focused on the road. Google's director of the self-driving car program, Chris Urmson, says the company's vehicles are better all around. They are more courteous and more defensive drivers than normal drivers. Most people are aware of how to drive safely, whether it is tips they picked up from driver's education or learned behind the wheel while a parent guided them through driving maneuvers. Many people start out with a heightened awareness and desire for safety behind the wheel. So, over time, however, it's easy to be lulled into a false sense of confidence that makes a driver think that he or she is paying enough attention to get by. You got that, Jimmy? Just
Not
to
really.
get by. That's what it's about these days. People they want to just get by. They don't care about actually, doing well. They don't care about how it
Yeah, they
should
just
be.
want to survive. Yeah, getting
No,
by.
no. On the road. This is how people do their jobs. They want to get by. You get what I'm saying? This is how people live their life. They wanna basically coast through life and take the easiest way possible instead of taking personal responsibility.
Now I know what you're saying.
Okay. So, speeding, being distracted by happenings inside the car or outside, failing to follow road laws, or driving while tired, drunk, or under the influence of drugs can all be extremely dangerous. Adding just one of these factors to the mix dramatically increases the chances that an accident will happen. While all of these factors are unlikely to be controlled every time a driver turns the ignition key, the same is not necessarily true for self-driving cars. Right now, self-driving cars can only be tested in Washington, D.C., Nevada, Florida, Michigan, and California. There is certainly a lot of interest in what extent they might influence transportation, but research and testing are still ongoing. So, what are the pros of a self-driving car? In comparison to the myriad of bad behaviors a driver might exhibit behind the wheel, a computer is actually an ideal motorist. Since 81% of car crashes are the result of human error, computers would take a lot of danger out of the equation entirely. Computers use complicated algorithms to determine appropriate stopping distance from another vehicle, and other data that decreases the chance of car accidents dramatically. There are no opportunities for a computer to be distracted, which is a leading cause of accidents in the United States at present. Although it's not clear to what extent lives would be saved, it's obvious that human-driven cars come at a very high cost in terms of danger. The U.S. Department of Transportation actually assigns a value to each human life, $9.2 million. Therefore, there would be a significant cost savings in many different venues, like insurance costs and healthcare costs associated with accident recovery alone. As an article from Forbes pointed out, there's also a cost savings associated with time. When a computer takes over the driving responsibilities, drivers can use that time to do other things, like catch up on reading or chat with passengers, all without having to worry too much about road safety. According to Eno Transportation, self-driving cars in large number participate in a behavior known as platooning, which would significantly improve traffic conditions and congestions. This would help to reduce commute times for drivers in high traffic areas, but also to maximize on gasoline usage. Do you know what platooning is? They share information basically between themselves. And Jimmy, are you there?
I'm right there.
Okay, so do you know what platooning is?
Platooning?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so when a vehicle is platooning, it's part of vehicle platooning is a part of a suite of features that self-driving cars might employ. A platoon is a group of vehicles that can travel very closely together safely at high speed. Okay? Each vehicle communicates with the other vehicles in the platoon. There is a lead vehicle that controls the speed and the direction, and all following vehicles, which have precisely matched braking and acceleration, respond to the lead vehicle's movement. So basically, the front car, is controlling the 50 cars behind him. So if he's driving at a reasonable pace, every other car is driving at the same pace so that they can stop exactly in time to not get into any car accidents. And that's a great pro for, self-driving cars. In order for the cars to operate more efficiently, they need to communicate with one another. So helping to identify traffic problems or road risks early on. So all the cars can communicate with each other. Disabled individuals who have to rely on public transportation or assistance from others to get around could reap the benefits of self-driving cars with new freedom and enhanced mobility. Larger cities are plagued with the problem of providing adequate public transportation. Many have a lack of appropriate infrastructure to support the needs of their residents. So a void that could partially be filled by self-driving cars is right there. Over time, higher speed limits might be considered as an option if more people are using self-driving cars. Because think about it, Jimmy. If you can be guaranteed that your car is never going to hit the car in front of you and the car behind you is never going to hit you, couldn't you drive at 250 miles an hour?
Yeah, virtually everybody could.
Exactly. Since the computers calculate operation on the vehicle safely, driving time could be reduced by faster speeds allowed on the roads. Companies are always interested in new product development and taking the industry forward by a step, as indicated by the 7 companies who requested permits for self-driving car development in California alone. Do you know who those 7 companies were, Jimmy?
No.
So we have, of course, Google, right? And like you said, that is the tiniest little car, but it's cute as all get out. 7 companies have been issued permits letting them take their experimental vehicles out for a spin on the state's public roads. The latest to get permits as of 2014 were Tesla, Nissan, Delphi Automotive, and Bosch. They joined Google, Daimler's Mercedes-Benz unit, and Volkswagen's Audi unit. So there you go. And I believe Ford has one now, or they just have the self-parking feature, I'm not sure. I like that self-parking feature. I think it's awesome because parking sucks. But anyway, many cars are already equipped with features in the first stage of automatic driving, like autonomous braking, self-parking, or sensors that clue a driver into the nearby obstacles. Drunk driving incidents should decrease because there's no designated driver needed when the car drives itself. Massive savings could be recouped from being spent on older mass transit projects like trains. Police officer focus could be shifted from writing traffic tickets and handling accidents to managing other more serious crimes. Sensors in the autonomous cars allow vehicles to ride closer together, therefore allowing more cars on the road with actually less traffic. Less parking structures and parking headaches would be required since your car could actually drop you off and locate a parking space further away. The line at the DMV would be cut short since people wouldn't need a specialized driving license to operate cars. There is less of a concern about taking the keys away from Grandma when she gets too old to drive carefully. The car will take care of her. Take the keys away anyway. Grandma really doesn't deserve to be on the road when she's going to get everybody else killed. Okay? Does that sound ageist of me? Listen, I'm all for people being able to be independent. Right? I am not all for people who have their heads stuck so far up their butts that they think that they're infallible just because they have experience. Nobody is infallible. That's just like young people thinking that they're invincible because they have youth on their side. Okay? When you're older, yes, granted, you have experience. You know what? You also have deteriorated muscle memory. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be allowed to drive. I'm saying you should know your own limits. If your eyesight is not that great, if you have to squint, if you can't obey the rules of the road, the laws of the road, and if you're driving around with your blinker on 90% of the time, then maybe you shouldn't be on the road. If you find that more and more often you're driving up on curbs, maybe you shouldn't be on the road. Just my thing. And certainly, if you're going to be yakking away in a car, then don't drive. Especially not when you have children, grandchildren, whatever in the car. You're endangering everybody else, and oh, you're a sweet old grandma, so you should not get in trouble. Hell, lady, get off your high horse and take some responsibility for your life. Right, Jimmy?
That's right.
Okay, so what are the cons of self-driving cars, Jimmy? I'm looking at the time. Do we have to break for commercial?
Yes, we do.
Alright, so we're going to break for commercial real quick and pay some bills, and when we come back, we will discuss the cons of self-driving cars after these messages.
Are you hangry? Know the signs. Uncontrollable yelling.
Why aren't you egg rolls?
Hallucination.
Sushi!
Pants discomfort.
I hate you, pants!
Hangry. It can happen to anyone. Fortunately, there's E24, the app that tells hunger to shut up.
Egg rolls! Thanks, Snoop.
E24. In my medical opinion, it's the best way to order food online, baby.
Hey everyone, I want to tell you all about an amazing salon. Joyce's, located at 132 Ferry Street in Everett, Massachusetts. Joyce's specializes in the latest techniques in coloring, styling, cutting, and beach waves. Joyce's features Kesha all-natural nutrient products and organic color. Joyce's full-service spa and salon, located at 132 Ferry Street, Everett, Massachusetts. 617-387-6688. Specializing in you.
Hi, my name is Amrita Rupnarayan, aka Valanissima. Amrita means ambrosia or nectar of the gods. Valanissima means the birth of divine knowledge. Join me every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern for a night talk with Joe Rocks, exclusively on TuneIn Satellite on Armed Radio Global Network, where we will discuss food, culinary arts, baking, cooking, food preparation and presentation, bringing you a little bit of the divine knowledge so you can create your own nectar of the gods.
Plan your visit to Savino Vineyards in Woodbridge, Connecticut today. It's a family-owned and operated vineyard that grows premium grapes on 8 acres of land and produces a fine selection of wine on-site in a historic barn. Savino Vineyards is a bronze medal winner in the Amenti del Vino International Wine Competition, and wine tastings are only $7. Visit SavinoVineyards.com to find out more, and follow Savino Vineyards on Facebook. That's SAVINO Vineyards. Or call 203-389-2050 for more information.
Hi, and welcome back to this week's episode of Talk Time with Val. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Valanissima. And before the break, we were discussing the pros and cons of self-driving vehicles. So, Jimmy, before we get into the cons of this, what's your take on it? Do you think that, it's a good thing or a bad thing?
I forget what we're talking about.
Self-driving vehicles, Jimmy.
Oh, I think it's a good idea. Especially for drunk drivers.
Oh, yeah. There's cars that have breathalyzers in them. You have to blow into it in order to start the vehicle.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's good for drunk drivers.
Yep. But it's not good for high drivers.
That's why a vehicle that can drive on its own would be much better than a drunk driver. Or a beginner.
Yeah.
These young kids, they have no idea about what can come running out in the road, you know what I mean? They just fly by doing 60 in a 30-mile-an-hour zone.
Yeah, you want to know what the stupidest thing is? They don't care because they don't think anything's going to hurt them. They don't think that anything bad's ever going to happen. But here's the stupidest thing about that. There's no longer defensive driving courses, and there's no longer personal responsibility. I think that if you are driving 35, if it's a 35 zone and you're driving 45, 10 miles over, and you hit somebody and they die, it should be murder, not manslaughter. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, sometimes an accident's an accident.
Yeah, an accident's an accident, but if you are going over the speed limit by 10 miles in an area where...
But that's easy to do. You know what I mean?
Listen.
Just changing the radio station, your foot might hit the gas a little harder.
Well then maybe people should pay attention better, because you know what? Listen, the reason that they put up those signs for those speed limits in those areas isn't because they're being, whatever, about you getting to where you're going. No, it's because there are kids playing there, because the roads are in certain conditions and you need to have better safety or visuals, because the turns are sharper, because they know that it's a residential area or school crossing, or maybe they know that there are grocery stores and complexes there that kids are crossing all the time. They put those up. Do you know that
See, up here, they put up speed limits going by what would be like in the wintertime. You know what I mean? That's why there's a lot of 30, 35 miles an hour. But that's usually because of if you get snow or slush, that would be the ideal speed limit. So that's what they go by up here, the winter ones. And they enforce it all year round.
Right, because it's for safety. But here's the thing. For whatever reason, they're putting it up for a reason. And the minute people start thinking they know better, the minute people start thinking, oh, it's okay, I can do just a little bit more, is the minute somebody's going to die. I say, personally, if we passed a law that stated that if you were driving and, it was human error, then you should be fully responsible for it. You should be thrown in jail. You should be treated like a murderer, because you know what? You're careless, indifferent. It should be negligent homicide every single time instead of manslaughter. Because that's exactly what it is. It was negligence on your part that caused the homicide. You are a murderer. You did not care enough for somebody else on the road, and you killed them with your vehicle because your dumbass decided that you know better than all the scientists and structural architects and engineers that put these things together. Yeah, you are a murderer. You know who I'm talking to. You know who you are. You are the people who don't give a shit about anybody else on the road. You are the people who will drink, who will text, who will drive by with your frickin' pink ponytail, with your phone glued to your head, and just like, oh, whatever, nobody else matters, because I can do whatever, because I'm Barbie. You do not deserve to be on the road. You are a killer. And then you get away with it because of daddy's money, and, because of, oh, well, they didn't know any better because they weren't raised any better. Are you kidding me? It's disgusting. The fact that America will allow a person, because they were raised in a household with a ton of money, to get away with killing, murdering people, and say that it was not his fault that he was grown up, he raised with affluence. So what about the kids in the ghetto who were raised, with parents not being there to influence them either? Just because their parents aren't part of the 1%, do they get a break? No, they clutter up the jail systems. Right, Jimmy?
Yep.
Is that fair?
No, it ain't.
But the 1% keeps getting those breaks, right? Yeah. Because life doesn't matter. Oh, it's $9.2 million for a life in America. That's what the DMV states. Well, if daddy makes $180 million a year, it's okay if you go out and kill 5 or 6 people. It's fine. Daddy's an employer. You will be one day too, so it's okay. Go kill random people. Bullshit. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting what the 1% gets away with. But anyway, let's get back to the cons. Maybe if the 1% thinks that these toys are, fantastic, they'll stop killing people on the roads and they'll start having a computer drive for them. What do you think, Jimmy?
Like I said, hopefully it catches on.
Well, let's do the cons to the self-driving cars. Just having the ability to operate a self-driving car would require an education on the driver's part. According to, then the 1% is out of it. Sorry. They use daddy's money to buy their way through things. They don't actually learn anything, do they? Shoot!
No, even they had to go for a driving test.
Well, just having the ability to operate a self-driving car would require an education on the driver's part, according to Teletrack. While the computer takes over once the vehicle is operational, the driver would still be required to maintain some knowledge about how to operate it safely. The cost of implementing the new technology could be way out of reach for most Americans. Currently, the engineering power and computer requirements, software, and sensors add up to more than $100,000. What do you think about that price tag, Jimmy?
Not something in my price range.
Right? I guess the 1%, it's too cheap for the 1% and too expensive for the normal middle class, right?
Yeah, so who's going to buy it?
Well, the people who are upper middle class, who spend, but that's okay. We're working towards that. The most savings in terms of cost, time, and lives is going to come from when more people opt in to the service. Okay, here's the thing. People aren't opting out of the service. They would love to opt in. Jimmy and I would love self-driving cars, wouldn't we, Jimmy?
Yep.
It's just that the $100,000 price tag is a little bit steep for us, right, Jimmy?
Well, that's the same thing when the plazas came out. They were in the thousands of dollars. And then, once the research and development's paid off, then they can start charging $600 or $700, you know what I mean?
Right. So here's what we're thinking. When it's been 3 years since these cars have come out, once it's been around for about 10 years, and they get it down to a reasonable price range, then we can go ahead and do that. Hell, there is a car on the market that is 3D imaged car that you can have for $9,000, and it's fuely, it's like a fuel, economically, what's the term I'm looking for, Jimmy? I feel so tongue-tied right now. It's economically viable because it's ecologically friendly. Okay? So, if I can get a car brand new for $9,000 that's going to drive me 182 miles for $10, I'm going to take that car, right, Jimmy?
Right.
I'm sorry. Put a fancy computer in it, charge me $100,000, I'm going to say no. But then again, I'm going to try to be responsible. I'm going to sleep properly. I'm not going to be distracted. I'm going to try my best. Because I'm not going to take it for granted that, I'm not going to die and I'm not going to kill somebody on the road. And I'd be more scared about killing somebody on the road than about something happening to me. But anyway.
And this thing would be seat belted in there, because, like I said, if you take your eyes off the road, you might get a little lax. But they see something come out in the road and slams on the brakes, you might go flying.
Well, everybody should be wearing their seatbelt, no matter what, right? And you should never be going so fast. I guess this is on a highway and a Dares crossing, because I've seen that happen. So I get what you're saying. You're right, Jimmy. You're right. But anyway, let's look at the savings. So, the most savings in terms of cost, time, and lives is going to come from when more people opt in, or when they start giving away these for free, to the service. If self-driving cars are not adopted widely, accidents can and will still happen. The very security behind self-driving cars would be a major obstacle, especially because the technology would be of a very high interest to hackers, as pointed out by The Guardian. Now here's the thing. There was a TV show a few years back. Actually, I think it was an episode of Doctor Who. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. But there was a TV show, I can't remember exactly what it was, where all of the cars were on a smart road. Do you remember that show, Jimmy?
No.
Might have been an episode of something. I don't know. Anyway, so what I remember is that the vehicles were smart vehicles, right? They could talk and interact with each other, etc. But the roads also had sensors and computers in it. So they could talk and interact with the vehicles as well. You could literally get into your car, close your eyes, it's all blacked out, fall asleep, and the cars would take you where you needed to go, right? You could have a meal, you could do whatever, it didn't matter. Because you didn't even need to pay attention to the scenery outside. Your windows could be all blacked out. And then one day, the hackers came. And millions of people were killed in one fell swoop. Because the machines didn't rise up. No, the people who wanted billions of dollars for holding the system hostage, they rose up. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's one of the scary things about self-driving vehicles. If they're all integrated with each other, it's like having a network of computers all integrated. All it would take is being able to hack one, just one, and you can potentially hold the lives of thousands, if not millions, in your hands. In order for a computer to operate a vehicle, a lot of information would have to be stored on the software. Some individuals are concerned about the opportunity for a computer built into the self-driving car to collect personal data. Okay. I'm not even touching that one. Because I think it's bullshit. I think it's seriously, like, I understand protecting yourself, and I understand, but you have to realize, people, the computer cannot reveal more than you put into it. So if it has the ability to drive the car, it doesn't mean that it knows what your bank account number is, that you like, silky, sexy underwear, and you like to drink mimosas at sunset on the beach while stroking your white cat. Okay? Unless
You know what I'm thinking? They haven't got past is the concept that they don't need a windshield anymore. Because you're not driving, you don't need to see. All you need is a camera out there. So you could have metal plates or whatever. So if somebody a head-on collision, they can have a better vehicle. We'll take it.
Right. But that can only happen if there's once the technology goes forward. But again, here's the thing. If you have no control, absolutely no control, and something were to go wrong, to me, having a smart car would be, yes, it can drive itself, but if the technology or mechanism were to go down, I can still drive myself too. Not be stranded and have to call a computer technician, geek squad, and a mechanic to come out at the same time. You get what I'm saying?
Right. They should have an override for emergency. That's all, like having an emergency brake. Same thing.
Yeah. So, let's see. Personal data, the computer is not going to sit there and spy on you. And that's what people are concerned about, that there are so many cameras in there that the computer is going to spy and store data. And then it's going to be hacked, and or the government's going to have inside access, or the car company, the manufacturer, is going to have inside access to it. And people go bonkers over this whole, collecting personal data stuff. Well, if you don't do things in public that you're really not supposed to be doing, you're not going to have to worry about people collecting our data on you, right? So if you want to put on your pink high heels and drive your truck, putting your mascara on with your flowing purple boa on, and you're a big 380-pound dude named Gus, then more power to you, Gus. We love you. But if you want to hide it, then don't do it in public. Right, Jimmy?
Right.
I mean, do you have a problem with anybody being who they are? No. But you could be who you want to be in the privacy of your own home, right? You could be who you want to be out in public as well. I don't care. I only care when you start saying, don't look at me, and you're wearing something that's showing half your nipples with your ass hanging out in stiletto heels. You get what I'm saying, Jimmy?
Yeah, and that's what they do.
And you're screaming, don't look at me. It's like, seriously? Come on. Anyway. Even though there are concerns about the adequate nature of public transportation, self-driving cars would eliminate many jobs in the transportation sector, especially when it comes to freight transportation and taxi drivers. This could have a negative impact on the unemployment rate in the economy. Okay, I see that. And that would I actually have a huge problem with people being unemployed. But here's the thing, right? If you can have a self-driving vehicle that would make it more efficient for produce, etc., to be shipped from one area to another, would you still not need a supervisory person to load and unload the stuff? Because the car is driving. It doesn't mean that it has warehouse personnel's shipping prowess, that they're able to load the freight onto the vehicle, that they're able to check the freight numbers and tally what is needed to be carried. You know what I'm saying? That's what a driver does. Yeah?
Yep.
So you're going to still need them to a certain extent. When it comes to taxi drivers and bus drivers, no, you're not going to need as many. But here's the thing. A taxi is kind of expensive, which is why people take Uber, right? You're always going to have a market for people who need private personal drivers, etc., or delivery, or whatever. And if that market is not there, then those people are going to they're going to be forced to turn to another market. Maybe they'll turn to agriculture, maybe they'll turn to sports commentary, or whatever, you know? But here's the thing, America. Here's the thing, world. People are resilient, and when there is something, when life hands you something and you can't deal with it, then you've given up. If life hands you something and it seems hard and difficult to overcome, make a blasted effort to overcome it now. Do something. Don't just sit on your butt and, do nothing and say, woe is me. Actually get out there and do something about it. Donate time, donate money. If you can't afford it, get a job. Do something. I'm just saying. Don't sit there and expect everything to be handed to you and then cry, woe is me, when it's not. Right? That's just my take on it. It might sound harsh, but you know what? That's just how I feel. Jimmy, give me a heads up on how much time we have left for the show. I don't have a clock around here. And Jimmy's not there. So
8 minutes.
8 minutes, good. A self-driving car doesn't completely eliminate the likelihood of a car accident. In fact, there's no legal precedent for how a case would be handled. The difficult question of who holds responsibility in a car accident, the driver, the car manufacturer, the software developer, could be tricky to answer. It really shouldn't be. If it's the car itself, mechanical failure, it's the car, the manufacturer. If it's the computer itself, it's the software developer. If it is the relay between the software and the machinery, then it's both of them. The driver would be the only one who would be exempt if it was truly a self-driving vehicle. Right, Jimmy?
Right.
Insurance rates would really be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there'd be less accidents, that's for sure.
Tons and tons of less accidents. But it's never going to pass because, again, the 1% are looking at their money, right? So what if it's going to be safer?
See, I see a future of self-driving cars that can take impacts up to 100 miles an hour and you're still safe, you know what I mean?
If they made of rubber?
Some kind of contractable, you know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Like bumper cars almost.
Yeah, something like that.
Something that will shift and absorb the impact rather than becoming dented and periodicated.
There won't be as many accidents as there is now, that's for sure. You might have 1%.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean, for malfunctions, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm. I concur, honey, I concur. Also, the cars are not able to operate at a high level of safety in all weather conditions. The fact is that heavy rain can do serious damage to the laser sensor that's mounted on the car's roof, calling into question what role the driver might have to play in the event that the technology fails. If other technology fails, such as traffic signals that the cars rely on, there's no accounting for human traffic signals. In the event of an accident, for example, where a police officer is directing traffic, the cars cannot interpret human signals. You know that, Jimmy?
They can't interpret each other's, is that what you said?
It can interpret each other's. It can interpret the lights that are there from the traffic signals. But let's say the traffic lights go down and a police officer has to direct the traffic. The car does not have the ability to follow a police officer directing the traffic. It only has the ability to follow mechanical signals.
They'll have video of it that's showing it, and then the car will take over from there.
Well, no, that's the thing. The car right now, they don't have the software developed. The car can stop and it can go, but it does not have a software developed. Like, it has an automatic braking system because it's about to hit something. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Or it's free to pass. Right. But it can't understand the interaction. It doesn't have the ability to think.
That's what I'm saying. They'll have video memory. They'll see a cop directing traffic, and it will understand what it is and tell you, and you'll know when it either stop or go. It'll do it on its own.
That'd be pretty awesome when that happens.
Yeah.
But they're saying that right now, that since the cars cannot interpret human signals, it would be a safe con. So the reliance on technology could mean that over time, drivers are no longer equipped with the skills to operate cars. In the event of a technological glitch or recall, drivers might be helpless to get around, having been out of practice in the driving role for some time. Full development of self-driving cars still raises a lot of questions and concerns on behalf of drivers, so it's unclear how full adoption of the technology might be. Many individuals are nervous about handing over all the power to a computer. Me, that would be my concern. I don't want AI rising up when we have Isaac Asimov's futuristic prediction going on here, right, Jimmy?
Right.
Do you want to live in Futurama where Bender is your overlord? No. Right?
Right.
I just think that's funny. You don't think I'm funny, Jimmy. You didn't even laugh. You were just like, right.
I don't even know who Bender is.
You've never seen Futurama?
No.
Bender kind of reminds me of you. He's this, like balls to brass robot. Right? He's a bending unit. He drinks too much, smokes cigars, smokes too much, womanizes, enjoys the excess of everything. He doesn't give a shit about people because they're just meat bags, but he loves animals. He loves his little kitten, right? And he just walks around, says whatever he pleases, just lives his life, and he's like, yeah, this is me. I'm Bender. Deal with it.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. He's one harsh mama jamma. Tell you what, Bender's a little scary. You wouldn't want him to be your overlord, Jimmy. Trust me on that, okay? Just go with me on that, Jimmy. It's for your own good. Right. Okay. It's for your own good. It's just because I love you that I tell you that, okay? Bender is a no-no. Okay. It's unclear. Okay, so many individuals are nervous about handing over all the power to a computer, which could malfunction and put the driver in a more dangerous situation than if the driver were manning the vehicle himself or herself. Like, can you imagine if the sensor goes out and it can't tell that the bridge is up and it keeps driving and you end up swimming in the, Hudson River? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because a sensor goes out and you no longer have the ability to brake the vehicle. That's some scary stuff right there. It's unclear how self-driving cars would maneuver through hazards like roadblocks or unique local driving laws. A good example is the difference between states regarding turning right on red. The computers could have difficulty identifying the different local and state rules with regards to the roads. Like in Missouri here, you yield, but you turn right on red, right? I don't think that's the case in every other state. Is that the case in Boston?
It's the case in Boston, New Hampshire. They'll tell you if there's no right on red.
Okay. So The success of self-driving cars currently relies on accurate mapping systems through GPS. As anyone who has been advised to turn down a one-way street or been told by their GPS that they were driving on a non-existent street can attest, GPS devices are not always accurate. So, I mean, when you look at this, right, there are a lot of pros,
You
there are
got
a lot
30
of cons.
seconds.
Oh, okay. We got a lot of pros, we got a lot of cons. You make up your mind on if you think that self-driving cars are the thing of the future or the thing that will waste us. Until next week, I am your hostess with the mostest, Valenie Dema. Have a great night, a great week, and blessed be.